Hello, everybody. This is Alberto Recupero. I'm from StudioCom. StudioCom is a consultancy firm that help small medium companies to find customers on the international markets. Basically, we take hand managers and entrepreneurs to open new markets and finding opportunities. And I'm the wine guy in StudioCom. So I've been working in the wine industry for 18 years, and for 10 years, I'm the export manager for Asia and Pacific to Zime Winery from Valpolicella. So today, I'm super excited because we are talking about a very interesting topic to me, and definitely one of the most interesting wine phenomenon on the international scene, which is the Chinese fine wine. So we are not just talking about wine, but Chinese fine wine. And we are doing this with four of the most prominent winemakers of operating in China, talking about visionary people, like trying to find the best possible spot to find world-class quality. So we're talking about high altitude, we're talking about desert, we are talking about struggles and challenges. So I don't want to steal too much time, so I will definitely pass the ball to Natalie Wong, who is a wine journalist. And among the long list of talents, definitely she's able to make numbers interesting. And today she's gonna highlight and guide us through the Chinese wine geography, and she will share us a few important points about that. So stop talking, Alberto. So Natalie, please join us, and thank you for being here, of course.
Thank you so much, Alberto, for the lovely introduction. And thanks for everyone for tuning in to watch our live talk. We're very excited about it. And my job today here is just to give a brief introduction of, what China's wine production looks like, what are the main wine regions. And then I will pass the most important part of the talk to all the winemakers and owners from the wineries, where people can ask questions as well. I have a little bit presentation just to guide people through, to provide a little bit of visuals here. So wine production in China, few people actually know China produces wine. 10 years ago, when people talk about wine production in China, people will probably think about, oh, it's quite lousy, and the quality is not there yet. But 10 years has passed, and the image of Chinese wine has completely changed. And we have winemakers who are participating today to thank for that. So I will walk through a little bit on the wine production here. Can everyone see the screen that I'm sharing?
Nope, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, let's do share and see. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it working out? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. First one is just a little bit introduction about China's wine map. You have wine regions in Hebei, in Shandong, in the eastern part of China. Then you have northwestern part of China, where Ningxia and Xinjiang are located, two main wine regions. And then towards the southwestern part of China, you have Yunnan, where LVM, which is Aoyun Winery, is located. So today I'm going to focus on this part a little bit. The first one is China's land under vine. The country is actually the second biggest country with land under vine after Spain, according to figures released by OIV. It represents 12% of the world's total vineyard. 7.4 million hectares is the global area under vines in 2018. So just think about that. China alone contributes to roughly 12% of the global vineyard area. It is one of the top 5 countries, which in total represent 50% of the world's vineyard. Spain, like I said, it's the biggest country with vineyard in the world, followed by 12% for China, and then France, Italy, Turkey. China's domestic wine production. So this is a very interesting subject. Over the past decade, we've seen the push to make a Chinese domestic produced wines, to drum up interest for Chinese wine. And in 2012, that's the year perhaps we see the highest domestic wine production. That's 13.82 million hectoliters, but you see from the graph that I shown here, it's dropping significantly. Actually, by 2016, it wasn't that bad. It was more or less a gradual and quite stable development. But once we go into 2018, we see a sharp drop from 10 million hectoliters to 6.29 million hectoliters. And last year, we see the lowest production from China, which is 4.51. There are basket of reasons that contributed to the drop. There's high cost, there is fierce competition with imported wines, and also there's the uncomfortable question of profitability with a lot of Chinese wines. A lot of people went into the business without realizing it's really a long-term investment. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money, and certainly takes a lot of energy. So we see a rein back from that end. And then now let's look at the main wine production regions in the country. Like I said, we have Xinjiang, Ningxia, and Hebei, Yunnan, Shandong, Henan, even Liaoning and Jilin, Heilongjiang, those parts in the northeastern part of China. But the biggest wine producing region by volume so far is in Shandong province, which is in the eastern part of China, where you see the little bit yellow area on the map. This is home to the country's oldest and biggest winery, Changyu Wine Pioneer. And the wine production in the region contributes to roughly 40% of the country's overall volume. And interestingly, what made Shandong buzzing lately is that DBR Lafite chose the province as the site for their very first Chinese wine production, Domaine de Longdai in Penglai region. As you can see, Penglai is inside Yantai on the eastern part of the map, on the tip. So it's moderated by maritime climate. Yantai sits along the same latitude as Bordeaux. It's easy to point out the similarities between the two wine regions, but bear in mind monsoon and flooding are two main climatic hazards for the wine region. A lot of Bordeaux varietals are planted here, but more recently you hear Changyu talking quite a lot about Cabernet Grenache. And they're calling it the flagship for Chinese wine production. But then once again, we hear talks of Masalana as well, which is more talked about in Ningxia. So the second biggest wine producing region in China is Hebei. So Hebei, you can see it's actually close, it's next to Shandong. And if you have been to China in Beijing, what used to be a part of Hebei province until it became a independent city. You see it's home to the country's second biggest winery, Great Wall. Actually, its premium wine, as it calls, Sangad, is located in Hebei. And the main subregions in Hebei are Shacheng, Changli, Huailai, Qinghuangdao. Shacheng is the area where the country's first white wine is produced. Changli is the first dry red wine. Both are produced by Great Wall Winery. And once again, we see a lot of Bordeaux varietals are being planted there, but also you see some interesting varietals like Gamay, Gewürztraminer, and there's one local grape called Longyan that's been singled out by Professor Li Demei, saying that it actually has a lot of potential for the wine region. And then Tianjin and Beijing, of course, they have a little bit vineyard planting going on as well. And then we go to possibly the most important wine region in China, Ningxia. It's considered China's premier wine region in northwestern part of China. It's very dry, it's very continental with big temperature swing. Two main things that you need to bear in mind when you're looking about Ningxia is the Helan Mountain and Gobi Desert. It really sets on the edge of Gobi Desert, so the climate is really dry, and you run into sandstorms sometimes if you're not careful. And but one thing about it is because it's very dry, so it lays the groundwork for organic and biodynamic and natural wine production. Later on, you'll hear more from Emma from Silver Heights, who is converting her winery with biodynamic philosophy. So that's quite an interesting development. Eastern Henan Mountain foothills is the area where most of the prominent wineries are located. Most of the grapes planted there are Bordeaux varietals. Cabernet is really the king in China, whichever region we're talking about. And of course, like I mentioned before, Marselan is another grape that's gaining prominence, especially in Ningxia, where people consider it as a signature Chinese grape. And Ningxia, very interestingly, it has its own winery classification system, similar to Bordeaux's 1855 classification system, but it's not yet widely used. That's one main thing. Then we come to Xinjiang, which is not very far from Ningxia. And Xinjiang is really in the northwestern part of China. It's really an outpost. This remote region shares borders with Kazakhstan, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Mongolia as well. So it's really landlocked. So you can imagine the climate and everything is so dry and arid. Sub-regions for the region are located in Tian Shan Mountain. So Tian Shan Mountain is roughly here. So this part blocks a lot of the encroaching desert, the negative impacts from desertification as well. And you see Yanqi Basin here is another interesting area where a lot of premium wines are made, driven by wineries like Tiansai, which is also practicing organic winemaking because the climate is so dry. In addition, there are wineries located in the eastern part of the province near the Terroir Basin and Yili, where you will learn a little bit more from Clara from Puchang Winery. She will delve into more details about how the vines are grown in Terpan. Climate, like I said, landlocked region, drought-like conditions, very rugged conditions, low rainfall, high temperature, and long hours of sunlight as well.
Yeah, definitely, it's very the diversification of the terroirs in China is incredible. So
it's incredible. Yeah. For sure. And then next one is Yunnan. Then we go to Aoyun. I mean, we gotta ask Maxence later why they chose Yunnan out of all the wine regions in China. But it's in the southwestern part of China where the wineries are located on high altitude regions. Aoyun, for instance, I think it's located like 2,000 meters between 2,000 meters and 2,600 meters in Shangri-La region. So it's really high altitude winemaking. They don't need vine bearing like most wineries would do in Ningxia. So in that sense, it saves a little bit cost, but because it's so hilly and mountainous, it's basically impossible to use machine to harvest the grapes. And then we have Shanxi wine region in the northern part of China, and where Grace Vineyard is located. And Shanxi got famous largely thanks to Grace Vineyard. And also there's a new winery there. It's called Rongzi. I don't know how many of you guys heard about that, but it's a winery that actually hired Jean-Claude Berot as its consultant. So Jean was the previous winemaker for Petrus. The wines are quite premium. The top wine is very expensive. Yeah, and then there's some other wine regions like Liaolin, Jilin, Heilongjiang provinces in the northeastern part of China where they actually make ice wine. So it's quite interesting to explore the Henan, Gansu in the southwestern part of China as well. So that's basically a geographic wrap up of where wines are made. So I'll hand everything to the next speaker.
Yeah. Thank you, Natalie, for taking us around to see how, as I said, how diverse are the wine regions in China, and how the conditions are so different, and the potential to make premium wine are super high. So let's now talk with Yan Li, who is the winemaker for Grace Vineyard, just mentioned. And thank you, Yan, to be with us. And I had to say that Grace Vineyard is one of the first winery that I drank, and when I said, "Oh wow, this is good," so thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm just gonna share a bit of the background of Grace Vineyard on what we have been doing over the past 20+ years in the winery. And so currently for us in Grace Vineyard, we are currently, up until this year, we are actually operating in 2 separate regions. One was in Shanxi, where we first started. The first wine planted was in the year 1998. And we have a second vineyard, which is currently in Ningxia. We started in the year 2011. And I'm gonna do a really brief introduction about the winery and why we moved from Shanxi, and why we explore further out from Shanxi to Ningxia. And I'm gonna try to keep it fairly short. So anyway, and I have prepared a really brief introduction about Grace Vineyard through this PDD as well. So,
okay, thank you.
Yeah. And anyway, first wine planted for us in Grace Vineyard was back in the year 1998. And when we actually first started, the total varietal we planted was more than, from memory, around 12, basically above 10 different varieties. Out of that, with different rootstock and different carding as well. And after years of trials and errors, we basically nailed it back to a few of the main key variety that most of the people are growing now in China. To name a few, which are Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, and Chardonnay. And of course, in China, and I believe this applied to other international winemaking region as well. A lot of time, what variety we can plant, relying so much on various factors besides the nature of the growing condition, the terroir, the suitability of the soil, the moisture, the sunshine, the total amount of heat, and so on. But another critical criteria that what variety we can actually plant, what variety that we can actually sell, beside the nature of the conditions. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the current mass market in China, or the majority consumer in China, are still heavily relying on Cabernet Sauvignon and of course red wine. Well, I won't highlight so much on the consumer part or the marketing part of the business, but I'll explain a little bit more the scenes behind the bottle, the wine, and the vineyard itself. For us in Grace Vineyard, I mean, we think that, I mean, it takes really a long process in China, in particularly applied to northwest of China, where most of the vineyard locations have extreme winter conditions, and extra precautions needs to be taken during winter to protect the vines survive throughout the winter months. In some extreme years, the cold and the dryness condition in winter will kill the young vines, and it takes us really extra years to bring the vineyards into productions. I mean, in productions here is referring to the vineyards start yielding grapes, and we can pick the grapes for winemaking. And on top of that, it takes us years of time to find out the suitability of a new variety in a specific site. To quote an example from us, it took us about 8 years from 98, and took us about 8 to 10 years of time to discover that Pinot Noir and Chenin Blanc is not an ideal varietal for Shanxi. And some of you may be interested why we concluded so. And I think the main reason behind is we concluded as the consistency in producing quality wine. I mean, we clearly understand that there are no 100% consistency in quality winemaking. I mean, it all depending on the natural, the weather, the soil, the amount of rain you're getting each year. But when we talk about vintage variations here in Shanxi, I'm referring to the ability to produce the same wine or to release a continuous varietal from year to year. I mean, I specifically highlight consistency in this part because we experienced some very poor harvests where we almost lost 100% of the entire harvest before in Shanxi. And to quote two extreme harvests that we ever encountered in Shanxi before, that would be 2006. And fortunately or unfortunately, '06 was my very first harvest with Grace Vineyard, and that problems continued for 2 years. Well, for 2006, we had our very first late frost, which is in May, and it was an unexpected temperature drop during mid-May, and it just turned too cold and starts to snow, and it just virtually killed a lot of young shoots, and we lost 70% of the entire harvest. And well, that is fine. I mean, it is quite natural for in agricultural business, but that happens 2 years in a row. And '07, unluckily, is my second harvest with Grace Vineyard, and we got another disastrous harvest, which is we had way too much rain in summer.
This is exactly what I was meaning when I said that. First of all, you are visionary because you really have to look like ahead of time, and secondly, the struggles and challenges that you have to face. It's incredible.
Yep. And with '07 itself, I mean, nothing can be done. I mean, it just kept raining, and it virtually turned the vineyard into a swimming pool-like conditions.
Wow.
And, yes. And what we can do as me and my team is that we started to watch the berries started to split, and 90% of the harvest turned into gray rots, basically mold everywhere for that particular year. I mean, we clearly understand that in agricultural business, we are relying so much on the natural. But when we look at it as a business, it is really bad for the wine, really bad for the product, which is the wine itself, and really affected so much in the marketplace as well, because we were virtually out of wine in year 2008 and 2009, like out of wine for our key customer restaurants and hotels. And of course, for my part, it's very high cost for the winemakers as well, because I have to reject so much fruits, like 90% of the entire harvest. I got to say no, it is bad, I can't do anything about it, and just throw that away. So, and after that 2 disastrous years to overcome that issues that I just highlighted, not really overcoming the issues, I would say, but to spring the risks of the natural conditions, we started to look into additional vineyards or additional potential vineyard sites besides Shanxi. So within year 2008 to 2010, we within the company, we set up a new divisions, which we call it the R&D divisions, the research and development team. And we basically cover 2 key important jobs. One is to look for potential vineyards and varieties, and secondly is to look for potential style of wine and variety for the future of Grace Vineyard. And from memory, we were in we go through the whole Shanxi region, and we were in Xi'an, and we were in Xinjiang, and we were in Shandong Peninsula and Ningxia as well. And we planted a few experimental vineyards within '08 to 2010. And finally, we selected Ningxia, and second vineyard were planted back in 2011. I mean, and of course, I got to highlight it here. Part of the reason why we selected Ningxia, because the potential, beside the potential of that particular area that we selected, and also the intensive government support when we first started. Even until now, the local government are still very serious and supportive of winery and vineyard business.
So how, just to going towards the end of this presentation, how can you highlight the feature of your terroir reflecting into your wine? How can you describe?
Yeah, I have a very a really brief info about the genetic data that I'm showing on screen now. Which is specifically to Grace Vineyard. I mean, the current size of we currently planted was Shanxi about 80 hectares and Ningxia about 67 hectares. But I think beside the data I'm showing here, I think what really interests me the most, if you compare the grapes physiological characteristic out of both region. If you compare the skin texture, I mean, Ningxia tend to have a thicker skin texture, which is more tannins. I'm specifically referring to our own blocks of vineyard because we do see a lot of vineyard variations throughout Ningxia region as well. Some sections carry higher soil moisture level, some sections carry lower soil moisture level. And if you look at some winemaking data, if you compare both Shanxi and Ningxia side by side, if you look into the acidity level, I mean, for Shanxi throughout over the past 20 years, I virtually don't have to do any pH adjustment in winemaking, but Ningxia, yes, because it tends to produce more sugar. And if you compare in terms of flavors development wise, if you look at sugar and alcohol and flavonoid development in fruits, Shanxi tends to develop flavor profile at lower Brix or lower Burmia. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with this, which is the method of measuring sugar and flavors. But Ningxia tend to need to hold on to a little bit higher level. But in terms of winemaking also, I got to do slightly different practice comparing Shanxi and Ningxia as well. I mean, Shanxi tend to have a bit more acids and thinner skins, so I really need to maximize the extractions in winemaking. But for Ningxia wise, I really have to look after the extractions rate. And here are some pictures of Shanxi vineyard and Ningxia vineyard. I mean, if you look at bottom right pictures, this was the vineyard looks before we convert that into a vineyard. Basically, it was a desert. It basically has a 0 water holding capacity, and imagine that I need to run about 7 irrigations per year to make sure the young vines survive. But for Shanxi, I virtually don't have to do any irrigations, which is similar to dry farming now for Shanxi, which is I can run on maybe 1 irrigation in some year if the winter is too dry, but throughout the growing season, I don't have to do any irrigation. And there are some interesting photo I like to show you guys as well on the.
Yes, we're a little bit long, so please.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it short.
Yep.
Yeah, this is some of the satellite photos of our vineyard in Shanxi. I mean, those are 5 different blocks of Cabernet that we first started to grow back in year 1998, and this is a winery and several blocks of vineyards surrounding it. And what interests us the most is Ningxia. I mean, if you look at these photos, I mean, those greener sections, those are those areas with have more resources to water. I mean, they have plenty of water for irrigation and stuff, so it looks greener. And our vineyard is just northeast GV blocks here is all the vineyards locations right here. And so if you're familiar with Grace Vineyard wine portfolio, currently we have approximately such a big portfolio that we are doing. We have 21 different labels and different wine brands, and ranging from price 78 RMB to about 600 RMB of our flagship. And the total crush per annum out of both wineries is about 1.3 million bottles. And in terms of wine style wise, we're currently making wine ranging from unwooded white Chardonnay to sparkling, to carbonic maceration rates, to unwooded rates, oak age rate as well. I mean, and some of my favorite wine that I really enjoy is the single varietal wines, which is the some are based on 100% Shanxi and some are based on 100% Ningxia. And
very nice.
Yeah, the Chardonnay, the Maslan, the Alenico, the Italian. We only grow that.
Yeah.
We only plant that in Shanxi. And with Ningxia, we are focusing more on Merlot and Shiraz, and we have another multi-regional blend which is based on Shanxi and Ningxia, which are a Cabernet Sauvignon.
Okay, fantastic. It's very interesting also because you are based in 2 completely different areas that provides you completely different terroir as well. And I have to say that when I tried the wines, I really felt the elegance and the balance, but still a very good concentration. It's wow, it's very nice wine. Thank you for producing that. Okay, good. I believe that now we can talk to Maxence from Aoyun Winery, which is one of like kind of pioneer of fine wine in China in general. It was part of a big project, and of course, Maxence he will talk about this. And thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much to invite us. So I can, I am very happy to be part of this adventure. It was a dream for me. Actually, I was dreaming about this when I was studying in Bordeaux University, because I did this work of winemaker to be able to discover or participate to the discovery of new terroir and creation. Okay, and I have to say that after 7 years in Saint-Emilion, which is a fantastic place to live, you know, we've got everything. I lost my dream. I get married. I've got 2 kids, and suddenly I've got this opportunity. I think it's a synchronicity in life that happened, and I've got the chance to have a fantastic wife that was happy to follow me in this adventure. It's like a family adventure for me. We've got the kid young enough to adapt to China. And so we embarked to China in 2013. Okay, but I will tell you why we decide to go to this place. And so this is a project of LVMH to do a fine wine in China. And this project started in 2008. Okay, with the ambition to create a unique fine wine in China. Okay. And we have the chance to have a fantastic winemaker helping us in this adventure, which is Tony Jordan, which is an Australian winemaker that is a fantastic ambassador for fine wine in Australia since 30 years. And so it was the right person because he's an adventurer, he loves the fine wine, and so he would. And he's a no compromise person. I mean, this guy, if he didn't find the terroir capable to do the type of wine we wanted to do, with this uniqueness that we wanted something unique, he would have said, no, this is not possible because this is not a guy doing politics. So we had this fantastic guy, Tony Jordan, going all over China, starting in 2008, and 2 years later, he's coming back to Paris saying that he found some very good area, but it was not the place he would like to go because, again, we wanted this uniqueness. Then in north part of China, you've got this matter of burying the vine that did not fit to our project. And in the south part of China, you've got sometimes too much rain, and so it was not so good. So Tony Jordan understood that you will have to find a microclimate, a very tiny place, and this place will be in the south part of China. But in south part of China, you need to find some rain shadow, some big mountain stopping the rain, and finally he find this place where we are now, close to Shangri-La. Okay, so we are in south part of China, but in north part of Yunnan province, at the border of Tibetan province. And in this area, you got 3 very big rivers that everybody know in China. The Yangtze River on the east, then in the middle you've got the Mekong River, and in the west you've got the Salween River. And these 3 rivers are separated by very high mountain. And these very high mountains are acting like rain shadow, stopping the rain from the east and stopping the rain from the west. And when Tony Jordan arrived there, also he saw the vegetation that was confirming this, because only looking at the vegetation you can have an idea about the climate. And he was very excited, but what he didn't knew, nobody told him, even if he interviewed a lot of university professors and a lot of winemakers in China, he didn't knew that there was some vineyard planted there. So he has been very surprised to see some vineyard planted there, some Cabernet Sauvignon and some Cabernet Franc, very well planted at a good density, very well managed by a local farmer. So he was very excited, but there was one big problem, and it is that the farmer were selling the grape by kilo to a big winery that was doing wine. And so, as you know, when you want to make great wine, you need to manage the quality of the grape, and quality of the grape is also quantity. So we had to negotiate with the government to see if it was possible to change the rule from quantity to quality. And so we wanted to lease the vineyard to the farmer. So the government leased to the farmer, and the farmer leased to us the vineyard in order to be able to manage all of the process and to be able to, from the pruning to the harvest, and to be able to manage the quantity. Okay, so this was this adventure, and this is when I arrived with my family, me in 2013, when we decided to go to this place, when we finalized the contract with the villager. And so I have the chance to set up all the business there, to create a team. And with the team, our first mission was to understand this climate and this soil and these people. Because for me, the terroir is not only soil and climate, you have to add people with their local culture, and you have to add also plant. Okay, so the plant, as I told you, there was some Cabernet Sauvignon, some Cabernet Franc, and planted in 2000 by the farmer without any rootstock at 5,000 plants per hectare. So it was already good for us, but we wanted more diversity. We wanted to be able to plant other cultivars at a different density, to add some rootstock. So finally, in 2013, 14, 15, we planted other grape variety like Shiraz, Merlot, Petit Verdot that we didn't add before, and we had some Cabernet Franc also.
So when I was saying that you were pioneer, I mean, you have to finding the right spot to have all the conditions aligned together. It's absolutely not easy. Of course, if you are born like in Bordeaux or in Valpolicella or in Barolo, it's easy. You know, everything is there. You just have to follow the track. But in your case, you have to find out how to get to the top, which is super difficult, I think. But so exciting for you, I suppose.
Yeah, so this is what we work on every day, and I can tell you what we understand about our terroir now, about our specific terroir. Yeah. And so the first mission again, and the current mission every day is to understand more the people, the climate, the soil, the plant, and then in parallel we improve our process. We optimize our process corresponding to what we found. Okay, and so in terms of soil and climate, Tony Jordan has the great idea to do not put all the egg in the same bag, as we say in France. And so he understood that in terms of temperature, the right temperature for the type of wine we want to do with Bordeaux grape variety was between 2,200 to 2,600 meters. And so we decided to lease some vineyard in 4 villages between 2,200 to 2,600 meters. So here you can understand that is huge variation. That is unique in the world of wine to have this amplitude, thermic amplitude, but also soil variation. Okay? So in terms of climate, now what is really unique is you've got this very high mountain, very steep at the on the Mekong Valley. On this side, you've got the Meili Mountain, which is 6,800 meters. So it's the highest mountain on the area. It's a sacred mountain. And below, you've got the Mekong at 2,000 meters. Okay, so you've got 4,800 meters between the Mekong and the top of the mountain. And our village, they are in the middle of, closer to the Mekong, at 2,200 to 2,600 meters, above our village, there is very high mountains that are creating a unique microclimate, particularly with this, there is a wind of the valley, there is a dry air, but there is something that is even more unique, is the shade of the mountain in the morning and in the afternoon. In France, in June, you will have the sun rising, touching the vineyard at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then until 10 o'clock at night or 9:30. In our place, we've got 30% less of sunshine hour because of this shade in the morning and shade in the afternoon when the sun goes on the other side of the mountain. This is very unique. It's delaying the ripening. It compensates slightly by stronger UV light. At this altitude, the UV light is stronger, okay? But it's mainly compensating by longer ripening period, okay? And so this is why we usually harvest between mid-September to mid-November. But the uniqueness of this climate, again, it's we can ripe our grapes slowly until November without any oxidation. So we get the concentration from this climate without oxidation because this mountain shade, so you've got few hours on one side of the row, fewer on the other side. And this is really unique. I learn a lot every day, and I really think that this makes that our wine have a very, very high aging potential and keep this freshness. We call it the Himalayan freshness. In terms of soil, we got a lot of variation coming from the mountain because the mountain collapsed, a lot of mixed.
Yeah.
And here you've got a lot of variation. So basically, what we understand is we've got a lot of fragmentation also, 314 blocks out of 28 hectares. So it's kind of the very small block. At the beginning, we wanted to make group of blocks, okay? So now I'm telling you how we adapt to this challenge, to this terroir. So in terms of the vineyard, at the beginning, we say, okay, 214 blocks is too much. We will never be able to manage this. So we want to make group of blocks. Like you've got 300 children, you want to make group of children to be able to manage them better. And we try to separate these children. But after 3 years of soil study and climate study, we understood that this was not a good way to go because even if there is a lot of blocks, even if the blocks are very small, in the same block, there is too much difference in terms of soil or climate or both, okay? And to understand this, it will be impossible. So at one stage, we go visually, okay? We go to check the plant one by one, and we do also some physical tests. But after 3 years of experience, we understood that in this block, you've got this part of vine that are working same way as another block, another part. And after 3 years, we start to make a terroir map. But again, the soil study we did and the climate study did not help us. We had to do this terroir map with more visual checking experience. And then we confirm and we optimize this with physical measurement.
Wow, this is a long path. Really, that's incredible. That's incredible, long path to. But when I think that when you have a vision, like a dream, you were following your dream, you said, and this is exactly what you're doing: is a struggle, win the struggle, and go to the next challenge. And also, you have like 30 hectares, something like that.
Yeah, 30 hectares.
But like on 4 levels, like very segmented, right? It's very
so very fragmented. But I don't think I have too much time because I'm going to take the time of the other one. But again, in terms of vineyard, we had to understand this terroir, and we understand this terroir every day. And then the second parameter we optimize every season is for each of these 30 terroirs. At the end, we've got 30 terroirs dispatched everywhere. And so now we understood that we make group of part of block that represent 30 terroirs. And for each of these 30 terroirs, what we are doing is we are optimizing the process. We are customizing the process from the pruning to the blending. Okay, so this is what we are working on.
So when we talk about excellence, it's not just a word. It's not just a marketing thing. This is hard work. and experimentation and wow.
Yeah. And this is only possible in China. You know, people have a misconception with Chinese
exactly.
culture.
Yeah, exactly. But this is why we are here now. Eh?
So me, I can tell you something. You know, in Saint-Emilion, people were looking like me as a crazy. I was not fitted in the box because I was asking too much. I was too much into the detail, too much into the perfection. And I find my even in China. First of all, because people are not afraid about the change, and they want to learn. So I'm learning a lot with them also. But just before, this was in fact the conclusion I want you to say. But just in terms of winemaking, what is unique to this terroir is because of this we have the cellar at 2,600 meters, and it took us 3 years also to understand that at this altitude the tasting was completely different from the sea level. And so basically what I understand is that this altitude is even worse than in a plane. You have no you are not accurate. You cannot go deep into the wine, nose and texture. Particularly because the air is very dry, so the tannin of the wine, even if they are fantastic, they're going to saturate your palate. So because of this, now what we do in terms of winemaking that is very unique is we take our 30 terroir sample to sea level in Hong Kong, and we decide about the blend. We do the blend tasting, and we decide about the blend in Hong Kong because we are very accurate, much more accurate than at this altitude to decide and to go to move forward our objective, which is to make a unique fine wine expressing our terroir through elegance, complexity, and aging potential. Well, just to finish, I would like to say that again, this is possible for sure thanks to LVMH that's supporting us financially. It's a 25-year investment, so we will possibly make money in 25 years. So you need to have a company with a vision, not only money but a vision. Then we've got these local farmers that understand the plant very well. They live in harmony with nature in a virtuous circle. So we are organic, but we are much more than organic. And we've got this Chinese culture that is the opposite of what I was thinking. People think they are copying, but me, the team I work with, they are very creative and they are not afraid about the change. And when you are creative and you are afraid about the change, nothing happens. So in China, this is what is great. It can happen very fast. So we still have a lot to learn, a lot to discover. This is why we are happy. But we go very fast thanks to this Chinese culture, and I would like to thank my team.
No, you're right. You're right, and we are ready to follow you. As far as you're going, we will be there to test how your wine will look like in the future, because they're all excellent. So thank you very much for your presentation. I was really impressed, and so thanks again. So now we talk to another pioneer. We're talking with Emma Gao from Silver Heights, and when talking about the Chinese culture put into wine, she's definitely a very good ambassador for that, because she put the ideal harmony, cosmic harmony into the wine. So which is something definitely unique. So thank you, Emma, for being here. And
thanks, Alberto. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's my pleasure to be part of this discussion of Chinese unique terroir. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Emma Gao from Silver Heights of Ningxia in middle of China, north of middle China, just below the Mongolia and between the Shanxi and the Gansu provinces. Yes. So today we're a family boutique winery. With my father, we started 2007, as you know already. Then today I'm going to share 3 things about our family journey and Ningxia's evolutions becomes an established region for quality wine. Then about how we approach viticulture following Chinese wisdom, as well as using biodynamic applications. Then about the next chapter in our journey to keep developing and expanding what we do. Thank you. May I share your PPT maybe?
Yes, please. Yes, please. We are all ear and eyes now.
So this is my father. My father worked in viticulture for 30 years, and he studied the Ningxia landscape. Then he is a visionary. He has a vision for future quality of this region for making good wines. Then together we started making organic artisanal wine. It was a slow process, teaching the farmers organic method, avoiding pesticide and using the traditional way. This is my father. We have been in St. Petersburg and Moscow when I was 16, then back to region after my studying oenology in Bordeaux. So Ningxia is a arid desert place. As you can see, it's on the altitude of 1,200 meters. It's a lot of minerality on this soil, a limestone from the ancient ocean, silt from the flooding of the river, disposed of glacial till, and quartz from the mountain rocks. This is our vineyard. So you can see the map. You can see the map. We're in the middle here. In the middle here.
The heart.
Yes. Yes. As you can see, in this region we have almost 30,000 hectares planted and around 200 wineries. Then limestone, already told. We were lucky that here some wine critics gave us some notion about this wine. So I show you the bottle. Received some very positive wine review. Now the industry has expanded rapidly over the past 10 years. Now we have, yes, developed more things, yes. Harmony. Now, with my interesting topic to talk to you. Yes, China has ancient history about the Taoism. It's all about the yin and yang. It's like a positive and negative, but not in bad side, because if you don't have yin, you don't have yang. So it's a little bit what I'm practicing every morning with Tai Chi Chuan. From my experience, interesting to share is Tai Chi Chuan is actually we move our body like our planet to move around itself. Then we move our hands like Earth move around the orbit of the sun. So in this practice, we can have better blood circulation. So we keep the health for this. In the same time, this is actually the dynamic of we use the dynamizing the preparation for the treatment for the vineyard. You know, where we use the 7 preparations, we need to oops, like this picture. We need to turn the water all the side during 1 hour or 20 minutes. So all the molecules should be contacted with the energy. So this is big energy, like a battery between the positive and negative both sides, yeah? So inner energy. I come back. So Jieqi is a Chinese ancient solar term, so we use this a lot in the agriculture, also for health care. It's exactly 15 degree to the sun. Sorry for my English.
Oh, no problem. You're doing great. No problem. We are all following you.
Okay, yeah. So what is biodynamic? We're trying to put all together for ecology. So it's animal, it's local flowers. We have 200 mutton, some donkeys, a family of a horse, peacock, all this working in the vineyard or living in the vineyard. We're living all together. So every morning, just screaming of the donkeys. This is very noisy. Yes. So preparations, I don't repeat this. Everyone knows this. I don't understand because it's created years ago by Steiner. So we just repeat and trying to understand some philosophy, because actually in Chinese medicine, we have seen dandelion. It's, for example, we're going to spray for veraison, for better taste of the fruit.
Yep.
Then yarrow valley we spray before the flowering for better flower. For example, we put also oyster shell. Just now during this moment for giving more strong vigor for the fruit. This is as a Chinese herbal medicine that we, for the women, to give the baby, we oyster shell, boiling waters as well, but with all the other Chinese herbs, of course. So it's very good for the fruit.
Wow.
Yes. So New Frontier, almost finished. So
Oh, fantastic. No, but it's incredible because you know we already said that you know it's struggle and challenges, but and in your case, on top of this, you also like make the big effort to match two completely different philosophy, and because one, so you know, wine is always a cultural product, and in this case, is pretty much rooted into Western also philosophy and view of life. In your case, you built on top of this your Chinese heritage, and the matching is incredible. And it's, of course, when you drink your wine, you can somehow feel it. This is what make I think your wine unique, beside of everything, because beside of the quality, beside the, everything that we already talked about also with the previous winemakers, but it's incredible. I'm absolutely amazed by this. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for your time today.
Yeah, I'm not finished yet.
Yep. Okay,
thank
good.
you. Yeah, New Frontier. So after we did almost 10 years Cabernet Sauvignon and huge success with Chardonnay, we are now going to some new varieties, almost to maturity. So some Marcelin, Sangiovese, Italian variety, and Bordeaux, Viognier, Syrah. We try to natural way, so natural wine. With white yeast, no enzyme, no additive, nothing, no filtration. It's coming soon to on the market. Yes, so we hope that this one enjoy for new Chinese generation. Yes. So also we have my daughter. We're trying to train her for tasting wine and involve some works in the winery. I give some courses to the students in local Ningxia oenologic school. Okay. So they're interested in biodynamic, then come to visit us and to make the internship with us. Yeah.
It's gonna be kind of the future. I mean, this called natural wine is a kind of movement that is picking up pretty fast and strongly.
For sure. Yeah, I studied in Bordeaux. It's very strict and very, how to say, severe like a medicine of the wine, very detailed, very measured for each steps. But actually, the wine, you think, they do not need medicine. They need Chinese medicine. They need biodynamic medicine. They can be cured with any natural mineral or herbs, actually, and by itself, so around the rhythm of the planet and the constellations, right? Our system, yeah.
Yeah, but you know, also in the Western like wine culture, we have similar ideas about the interconnection with the moon, with the and also curing, healing the plants and with the natural method. So it's just a question of which philosophy of winemaking you follow, and but in your case, it's again, you are all pioneers, so this is incredible. It's
Thank you. Oh, also, I would like to thank German or French or Italian start to this philosophy. Actually, we influenced by them. I stay 2 months per year to study with them. Actually, with biodynamic association and following their courses and visit farmers, talking with them. Actually, they did already 80 years experimentation, proved it's better, yes, better one, pure, better tasting, and it's more ecological, better healthy soil. Of course, you know that, yeah. Okay, let me finish. Then this is our future winery facility, a little bit more modern, and with a culture center. We wish that in the future, people can enjoy a glass of wine with emotion, with the culture, and enjoy Chinese wealthy. Can be a or enjoy Ningxia food. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Wow, it's always nice to talk to you, Emma, and thank you for your presentation. And I hope that also you are gonna improve your international presence in order to all of you, of course, and find your wine also here.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Now, okay, we just talked with Emma and started from the vision of her father, and a similar story, maybe in a different way, also happened to the Puchang. So thanks, Clara, for being here, for joining us, and I really look forward to hearing your story, because I already said this in another occasion. Puchang is the very first wine, Chinese wine, that make me fall in love of fine wine, Chinese fine wine. So it's when I first time I drank it, I said, wow, now we are really talking about serious stuff. Okay, can you, we don't hear you, please.
Thank you. Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. Thank you, Alberto, for the very nice introduction, which put a big smile to my face. Hello, everyone. I'm Clara Wen from the Puchang Vineyard. It's really a pleasure to be here today, and I'm glad that I'm the second last one to go, because I've been hearing so much passion and knowledge and experience so far, so it's really giving me a lot of great energy. First, I'd like to give everyone a brief history about Puchang. So I'm going to share my screen as well. So I have a few slides to share. Okay.
Okay.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. So here you can see that the first grapevines of Puchang was actually planted in the estate in Turban Valley, Xinjiang, by local winery in 1975. In 2008, my father, Mr. Zheng Yingkeng, an entrepreneur from Hong Kong, he just fell in love with the landscape. And so he decided to invest in Puchang, and we became the first organic winemaker in the region. So I'll tell you more about that story in a bit. And then we had our first vintage in 2009. In 2013, Puchang was accredited by EcoServe as being organically maintained after 5 years of their assessment. This really shows that we strictly follow the international standard in terms of organic farming and winemaking. After 8 years of hard work and different experiments, we finally felt in 2016 that, okay, our wine is reaching an acceptable standard for our very valuable customers. So therefore, we did a soft launch in Hong Kong in 2016, which received very positive response. And that then gave us the confidence to gradually expand and build our branding and visibility. Today, Puchang comprises about 67 hectares of vineyards, which produce up to 130,000 bottles per year. So a little bit about my family. We are a family that believes in dream big and holding on to our beliefs and be persistent with our hard work to achieve our dreams. And our father really has been modeling these values to us all his life. So in 2008, he tried a bottle of wine from the Turban vineyard. He was really impressed by the quality and believed that the terroir there is perfect for viticulture. He foresaw that with beliefs and persistent hard work, we can also make wines that could impress the international audience. So as someone who never worked in this sector before, he decided to invest in the vineyard, and that's how we started this amazing journey. So as I mentioned that Turban has a rich history of viticulture that goes back to 9,000 years ago. And here is a map where you can see that Puchang is located in a place where we share the same latitude with some of the best winemaking regions in the world. And as Natalie was sharing in the beginning of the talk, this region is really sunny and dry all year round with very little rain of only around 16 to 20 millimeters per year. It has extreme temperature variation from around 54 degrees in the summer to minus 20 in January. And our length of growing season is around 270 days with about 3,000 to 3,200 sunshine hours per year. So the extreme climate really made it impossible for pests to survive in our vineyard. And also another special feature is our vineyard is spread across between 300 meters to 1,300 meters above sea level. So we also benefit from very unique and mineral-rich soil from the desert. Many friends ask us, so how do you handle irrigation? It's so hot and dry there. Well, thanks to the local traditional wisdom, we use the underground Terroir water system to channel clean melting snow from Tian Shan, Natalie mentioned that as well, to water our wines. So let me just show you some pictures from our winery, which can hopefully put some visuals into your head with what I just described. So really it's an oasis in the middle of a desert. And here you can see how we irrigate our field with melting snow from Tian Shan Mountain. And another picture to my left-hand side is in December, we have to bury the wines individually to protect them from the harsh climate in the winter time. Okay, so really you can see the Mother Nature has put all the right ingredients together for us and created this magical environment for us to do organic winemaking and cultivation. And because my father saw this environment and everything is there already, so he from the very beginning decided to run Puchang with two key principles. And the first one, as I mentioned, that we straightly follow organic farming and winemaking to make sure sustainable development of the entire wine region. We just love the land. We think that it's giving us so much, and we want to make sure that our production there would allow the land to continue to nurture the local ecological system. Just like Emma said, all the animals, the plants, everything could be there in harmony. So we only use organic, non-chemical substance to farm and make premium quality wine with very, very low level of sulfur. And secondly, this is also a very unique feature of us. We chose to keep the most distinctive local grape varieties for winemaking because we really want to offer our customers something that truly reflects the taste of Turban. And here, just a glance over our range of collections. So for example, under red, we have Beichun. Beichun is a true unique Chinese grape variety It was created in 1954. It's a hybrid grape created by wild berries from Jilin province and muscat in Xinjiang. And the reason of creating this grape was precisely to resist the harsh winter in Xinjiang. We have another local muscat variety, and we also work with Asian Georgian grapes like Savaravi and Castatali, and those were introduced to Xinjiang from the Central Asia along the Silk Road trade. So I'm always impressed by how adaptable and resilient our grapes are, that they can survive in this kind of harsh climate of Turban. The climate has put stress on the vines, which force their roots to go very deep into the soil and concentrate, on a limited amount of grape clusters. So as a result, given Puchang wine very intense and distinguished flavor, which are loved by our customers, and fortunately also including you, Alberto.
Basically,
so,
yeah,
go ahead.
The fact that you are in the desert and there is no water besides what you get, of course, from the mountain, but for the irrigation, but meaning that there is no proliferation of you don't really need to use pesticide. I mean,
yes, exactly.
Besides the personal choice of following organic and the biodynamic farming, but it's the conditions that you have there are kind of unique, and also the extreme condition of temperature and winter, and I think that you train the vines to be stronger and stronger, and that helps you a lot. What is incredible here, your wine is kind of pure. That is what exactly impressed me. It's pure, and also organic for you, as far as I understand, is an ethical choice. It's not just following a trend that recently is very popular.
Right, exactly. It's precisely
really an ethical choice. Okay, it's incredible. Yeah.
Absolutely, you're right on. Yeah, this is absolutely because my father always believed in sustainable development, organic production, and then he just fell in love with the land. He saw all the elements could come together perfectly. And just last bit of my sharing. So 2018, I wanted to say that we entered into the market in 2016, and 18 was definitely marked as a key milestone year for us, because it was the first time we took our Beitron to the global stage at the World Decanter competition in London. And so in the beginning, from not being able to find this grape at all from their list of entry, to then, it got its first silver medal. So we just felt, deeply honored with the opportunity to introduce a true Chinese grape variety to the international audience. Right,
Okay,
so
thank
lastly, may I just introduce our heroes? I think it's very important. All of the things that I said, we have to give credit to all these heroes who work tirelessly in the field, because everything is due to manual labor, hand-picked and hand-sorted all the berries. We have to do night harvest because it's so hot during the harvest season. So it's a 24/7 operations. And of course, our chief winemaker, Loris, who you met, Italia, he's Italian, he has a wealth of knowledge. And he still today, he said, it's really crazy and challenging to work in Turban, but he finds it really rewarding and exciting. And that's my father at the left-hand side.
Yeah.
So, Puchang is still new in the world of winemaking, really. We still have a long way to go, and we certainly will continue our hard work and dedication. But we believe, the best is yet to come. We have that vision, like you said, Alberto. It's a long vision.
I believe so. And I will be there to witness it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So now, Lionel, thank you for being with us. Please unmute you. Lionel?
Hello, hello everyone.
So, wow,
Hear me?
Lionel is one of, I think that you are one of the most knowledgeable about Chinese wine from the Western side. I mean, and so you have a lot of experience. You've been in China for a long time now, like 17 years, if I'm not wrong.
Something
And
like that.
You're doing a great job, and for spreading, you know, the wine, Chinese wine culture. I believe that Chinese wine operators really need to thank you somehow, and I will do my part. So thank you for that. So I pass the ball to you. Thank you. I'm Julio.
All right. So I'm the last one to this beautiful lineup of very nice people and having a nice wine connecting together, right? One thing is that I'm not a winemaker, but I spend a lot of time to study all those different wineries. As you said, I live in China for quite some time, so I have the chance to decide. In my first visit was in at Grace Vineyard in 2007, because I was distributing those wine in a trade before. So this is how I came across with Chinese wine. So I have a lot of topic to cover today with you guys, because we thought there were two regions missing, Shandong and Hebei. So I'm going to talk a few things about it. But before that, I'd like to to share my screen. Here we go. Because as I said, I used to, I am more from the sales part. Here we go. And I thought I had an extraordinary chance to join a harvest recently in 2017. So this is something I really wanted to share with you, all of you today. Wow. It happens in Yunnan. So of course, Maxence already touched on a few things about it. For me, as a person who sells the product for so many years, becoming involved in the production is definitely another dream. So Maxence has some dream, and for me, that was also I was not too hot on that first, but I really got hooked with this because those mountains are totally beautiful. The people there as well, they are all very nice people to work with. And one thing I also would like to emphasize about this experience is that everything is made by hand.
Yeah, when people sometimes questions about why the Chinese premium wine are so expensive, because it's a nightmare.
So we're moving on with the slide number 2, covering the Shandong region. So Natalie already in her introduction brought a lot of information. So I'm going to move forward to that. So it's my key point about it is an historical region, in the sense that Changyu was established there in 1892. And during this project, they brought 120 different types of vines. And they also are the pioneer when it comes to the name of the Chinese grapes, the Chinese name of the imported grapes. So I think this is a key point to highlight for this region. It's a maritime climate, so they don't need to bury grapes as well, but they have other problem to deal with. It's the high level of rain during summer and during the monsoon. So this is also a very challenging into the winemaking. Despite that, there are some big projects to start with. So Shandong is seen as a volume-driven region because it's a port. So it's also used a lot to welcome containers from bulk wines. Because there is not enough wine to be produced in China, so that happens during the 90s a lot to get this type of practices. But with all the new projects we're highlighting from all different regions, there is a huge pressure now on the big brands, the big Chinese brands, to also improve their quality. So Chengyu is no exception to that. Of course, they do develop a lot of exports, but they also have to, both sides, for either local market or export, they need to raise their game in terms of quality, which is very, very healthy, I would say, for the whole industry. I'd like to highlight few wineries in terms of new projects. We have new and not so new, but yeah, on the wine scale is still quite fairly new. Lily Tong is doing very precise project around Marcelin grape. So she has 7 hectares and doing Marcelin only cuvées. You also, in a different sub-region in Chinda, you will find Chateau Nine Peaks, also developing quite exciting new planting for new grapes. And finally, I think the big highlight for this region, which will really bring a new energy, is the Lafitte project, started in 2008. First release was actually last year for the vintage 2017. So you can understand that building up a new project from scratch is extremely risky, takes a lot of energy. So that's why all those big groups have enough resources to pull this out. So this is very exciting to see how this region is totally changing the direction of the winemaking for the future. Slide number 3 about Hebei. So very close is neighbor with Shandong, but despite that geographical proximity, the terroir and the climate is all very different. It's very more inland, so you find more a continental climate. There are 3 main sub-regions, which are Shangli, Fangshan, and Huailai. Huailai has been quite famous because it's also the birth location of Great Wall, another big name. So all those regions are led by big names. Actually, it's the second biggest region in volume in China, just after Shandong. So you also have smaller scale project. So it's a bit of history. This one is a bit hybrid, actually. The one I have in mind is an excellent, I think this is the one who is becoming the cult winery, the Chinese cult winery project. It's called Domaine Franco-Chinois, DFC. It started with a collaboration between China and France. And now it's more a private project, and we were waiting for 10 years the release of the wine. I think the current vintage is 2015, and they have also a sister winery called Canaan with a C, because you have a Canaan with a K in Ningxia, so I have to be careful with the different of names. So very interesting selection, very precise, very fresh, very, very good backbone in terms of structure of the wine. Their Marcelin Reserve is by far the best Marcelin in China, I think. And I keep tasting those wines for years and years and never ever able to buy them. And finally it's been released. So that's why I think they have the potential to be a cult winery. So this one is a very exciting project. In Fangshan, I have also a very soft spot for Bolongba. They are all doing green practices, right? So because of the environment, most of those places are very, very dry. They have a lot of big difference in terms of temperature, and for this region, they have to berry grapes. The berry vines. So this is also a key highlight of bringing the price higher. That's I think it's an ongoing discussion about the price positioning of the Chinese wines. Yeah. So regarding to Hebei, yeah, that would be the few winery I came across. It's much drier in terms of climate, so of course has also an impact on the tannins. The grapes, the type of the grape varieties are very focused also on Cabernet Sauvignon, a bit of garnished, and as I said earlier, the Marcelon is showing very well. So to wrap up regarding the export hurdles, I think the Chinese government has also to give some support because at the moment it's very difficult to get export license. That's a point. There is the image, which actually on the export level is starting from scratch. So this is the old storytelling can be built. I think one of the angle will be about extreme winemaking. I think this is quite exciting. We can see also a lot of organic and a lot of biodynamic projects are kind of starting in China. But this is a major trend, so I'm not too sure that it's a point of differentiation for China. But the terroir, for sure, the terroir has to speak. So beyond Cabernet Sauvignon and Chardonnay, that's also a very important point. Cost control has to be really much put to a new model. And again, I mean, we were talking about New Zealand, Sauvignon Blanc, Argentina or Chile Malbec. So yeah, this really something to look forward. And the native grapes, I think that's could be also an angle to attack those markets. My personal experience with Shaolin Estate for the export has been very positive feedback. Actually, I've seen the last few years more and more people coming to the market and the Chinese wine exhibition to taste wine. So to my surprise, I came across some specialized Chinese importers, Chinese wine importers. So that's very quite a new trend I've observed in Australia, Singapore, London. London has been always, I mean, Brits are always very curious about new things. And recently also from New York. I mean, New York is for sure a very international wine platform. So there are some serious leads, some people who are actually coming to us to ask how to distribute Chinese wine in their country. So I think it's very promising. And taking the actual market, the local market who is being depressed, I think it's a very good sign, and it's a good way to finish this presentation. So again, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us, and let's keep in touch to taste more Chinese wine together. Kampai.
Fantastic. So first of all, it's an incredible experience because, you know, for those of you who don't know me, I've always worked in my life with Italian wineries. I run a company called Etica Wines Asia, and, you know, it's an incredible eye opener today. So thank you to all of you for the beautiful opportunity. So having said that, yeah, there are many questions, I must say. It's probably showing now this is a very hot topic in the industry. And starting from, I guess, there are a lot of curiosity and question around the climate and the different terroir, especially one question related to probably Emma might be the person most suitable to answer to it. There's a question asking if there are any other place or wine producing area in China which are similar terroir, which I guess climate, soil, and similar natural situation to what is she's experiencing in Ningxia, basically. Are there any other wine producing part of China that you would compare to Ningxia, or it's Ningxia very unique? Or how do you see your producing area comparing the rest of China?
Okay, I don't think other terroir are similar to Ningxia. It's unique. Why? Because the Helan mountain actually is a very ancient mountain. It's 4 times older than Himalaya. It's a 200 million years old. It's a half life of Earth. So here's a lot of changement. It's a fent. The Yellow River passed in the middle, so put all the rocks with changing and earthquake. So every 50 meters, I think, of here's a different soil, because we have 1,000 mu, around 70 hectares in 2 locations. Then each location we have totally different soil on the higher altitude, on the lower. If you see it's already, it's a rocky soil, but here's a so different kind of soil. Sometimes you can find like a brilliant mica in the soil, like our North Jinshan area. Sometimes you have different color stones on it. It's green because in the ancient time it has been a lot of Lizalga. Natalie, please. 那个就是海草、水草怎么说呀？就是海之类的。
So yeah, so like thousands of years ago, Ningxia was submerged under sea. So that played an effect on the soil composition as well.
Yeah, we have a very specific stone, which is a green color. Green color you put under the 我显微镜
microscope. Yeah.
Microscope, you can see the les algues in French. I don't know what is in English. Lionel, aide-moi s'il te plaît. Les algues. Oh, he's lost. Totally.
Anyway,
he's lost. He's on Mars somewhere.
I think we are. No, it's very clear.
It's algae. Okay. Yeah.
Algae. It's algae. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of calcium and a lot of silice. So this both mineral is good for the wines. The calcium is very most necessary, and the silice is kept energy from the universe in deep of soil. It's more how to say more moral.
Fantastic. So, yeah.
Let's try to see if Lionel can join us, because Lionel, are you still with us?
No, the connection is terrible.
No. Okay, let's try again with another question, Giovanni.
Yes. Okay. So it's probably something that might be to all the winemakers here, also to Natalie, because you're obviously a deep knowledge of the wine, different wine producing area, wine terroir, which is related to climate change. You know, I mean, some of you are in quite extreme desert or very dry area or high altitude vineyards. So how do you see the perspective of climate change on your winery because, you know, whatever happens in the next 20, 30 years is a big hot debate around the world in the wine industry. And, but actually on China, it's something how would you see eventually the evolution of your wine production stylistically in the coming years?
So
I think Clara can give a really good answer to this, because Xinjiang is really extreme. I think Clara perhaps is best fated to answer that.
Yeah. You have to mute, please.
Sorry, I have to. Sorry, I was answering an audience. Could you repeat the question again? I'm sorry.
No, I was one. You know, it was simply basically now everybody talking about climate change and mean the climate change on the wine and the viticulture and winemaking. You are in a very particular natural area. So how do you see it in your case, which are already in a very challenging in a way area, desertic area? How do you see in the future?
Right, definitely. Well, I think definitely climate change is a big topic. And I guess the reason why we've decided to work on this vineyard is also to create a sense, how important it is to maintain the harmony in the environment, to produce the right food and drink for ourselves. So we're trying to send this message out along with our wine marketing campaigns as well, right? So that's something that we need to do in the years to come. If we're looking at the near future, for now, I think Xinjiang, we definitely have a lot of challenges with the sandstorm, with the hot weather, and so we're getting adapt, to the current climate. Let's, I kind of, it's a difficult question to think that the terroir and the climate will change in Xinjiang in the near future. Definitely, that's not how we see it. But in the long run, we need to set the mindset for people to also collectively protect the environment and understand how important the earth is for us in terms of producing the right drinks and food for us.
I think there is, this is also a very interesting thing. Talking about the Chinese, now, Chinese celebrities or famous people in China and who are already owning a winery in overseas or in around the world. If there's any particular, as far as you're aware, any particular new project of a Chinese celebrity in China in winemaking. I don't know if probably you, Natalie, you're the most.
I'm not aware that celebrities are making wines in China, but there are certainly celebrities like Chinese actress Zhao Wei went into Bordeaux and bought estates there. Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba, went to Bordeaux and snatched up a few estates. And of course, in Napa Valley, you have Yao Ming investing in wineries, but certainly because of the trade war, I don't see them selling a lot of American wines right now in China. So I see more of a foreign investment going overseas to buy wineries outside of China because of the lure for imported wine. But maybe some other people, they might know if there are celebrities buying wineries in China.
But I believe it's a question of time because, I don't know if that maybe some people can think that like Chinese premium wine are like for domestic consumption, but it's actually the trend is going international. So it's and I believe that also from the standpoint of business, also investing in a Chinese premium winery can be a very good thing. So
for sure.
It's just a question of time, huh?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
So another thing, which is probably very, very quickly, we can do a very quick round among the different winemakers, and also you, Natalie. It's, because now one of the cliche, the stereotype that Chinese wine are sold and consumed mostly or mainly in the domestic market, which is not necessarily true. But I think, of course, there is it's a very interesting perspective develop export in the production of Chinese wine to the rest of the world. With such a competitive industry like the wine industry, where you have so many different players and so many different famous brands and big groups, what do you think from your individual perspective would be the strategy in terms of communication or marketing to put China on the map? In some international market, or to put your brand on the right on trade, for example, market. I don't know if you want to start, Natalie. Then quickly we can ask.
Sure. I think there. although, like I said, domestic wine production is dropping and a majority of the Chinese wines produced locally are sold locally. But, wineries like Silver Heights, Grace Vineyard, Puchang, Aoyun, DBR, Lafite going into China, there's sort of a really, increase in the profile of Chinese wine. I think a lot of one main problem that when I talk to consumers is about the price. Everyone is saying, cheap Chinese wines, you can certainly mix with Chilean bulk wines and sold it domestically. But when you go a little bit premium, the wines are quite expensive. So I think that's one thing people.
I think that today we made clear why,
yeah, so today certainly we are very clear, what's happening. And also, I think with winemakers pushing and revamping the image of Chinese wine, certainly consumers are going to follow, but it takes time. And profitability for Chinese winery is not something that you can gloat about on paper. And and then also there's a massive national campaign to push Chinese to drink Chinese wine. So I think that's certainly interesting to watch how that plays out, whether people will follow, or people won't follow. We'll see.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Clara or Emma or Yan, whoever is, it's happy to answer.
I'm happy.
Oh, okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, you want to say? Okay.
No, good.
I'm happy to come in. I think, like Natalie said, nationally there's definitely that push, and internationally we see more and more interest for people. Especially the more experienced wine drinkers, they want to find out how the Chinese wine tastes like, and there's more interest to it. At a producer level, I think our principal competitive strategy, let's say, is to find our unique characteristics. We have to be who we are. And so I think after now more than 10 years of different experiments, I think we are on the right track in terms of the great variety, in terms of the organic production, in terms of the partners we work with. We value, partners who trust our quality, who buy our philosophy as well, and help us to push into the more premium level on trade channels and customers and so on. So thank you.
So Alberto, I don't know, do you have time for another?
I was asking Ian because I know that Grace Vineyard is mostly kind of like very strong in domestic food service market, on-trade market. So it's are you going international, I suppose, as well?
Yeah, I think currently with Grace Vineyard, 90% of our total volume is consumed locally within China and only export. And I think probably most of you guys know, it's not easy in the international market as well, because China is fairly high. And that's one of the key challenge that we are working on from year to year, as well as I introduced just now. Grace Vineyard, we are making wine ranging from 70 RMB retail to about 600 RMB in retail, and we always have a has this idea back in our head that the value of our wine is got to be in par or in competitive with a lot of international wine in the market as well. That's how we price our wine. And we so far, we haven't really launched any wine that beyond 1,000 RMB, because first in general, our opinion is that we are really new in the market. 25 years in winemaking or in wine growing is nothing compared to many other over region. And to make such wine out of when you want to price a wine above 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 RMB, first you really have to have that vineyard, and you really have to look into the potential of the eligibility of your wines, and I think everyone got to be a bit careful when we price our wines, and also of course, maybe some of you may be interested on what our plan was for the near future, or is that in terms of vineyard growing or winemaking? I mean, we currently do think that there are way too much Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah.
Well, our situation is that we export 8 or 10 countries, I don't remember, during the past 6 years. Yeah. We just export to London for 800 cases just after Corona-19.
Wow.
Yeah, then today we expedition first Scandinavia to Sweden and Finland.
Wow.
Yeah, the next September we're going to export to Italy, Toscana. Actually, I think that people are curious about the Chinese wine.
Yeah, definitely. And today it was clear because we had so many attendees and all from the wine industry and wine professionals. So it's you know, it's very interesting for all of us, and the future of Chinese premium wine is definitely on the international market. Back to Yen, I saw like kind of interview of Judy Leisner, and she was saying, yeah, we are focused on domestic, but chasing for international recognition. That's the idea, you know, still focus on the domestic sales, but with the
we were in Japan, we were in London, we were in Italy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes,
Actually, thanks Natalie to do good promotion about Chinese wine. Actually, she has some contact to give us, so we get.
Yeah.
No, thanks for making good wine in the first place. I think another question that I'm personally quite interested. I think a few people, including Andrew Kayard, Master Wine, based in Australia, asked as well. It is about the wine classification system in China. You know, the understanding is in Ningxia we have that, but it's not adopted nationwide. So what is you know, your response to it for each winery? Do you think that's a good move? Will it help to increase wineries' reputation or image, or would it help when it comes to exports as well?
This question for me?
Yeah, I think for all the wineries, you know, you can.
Yeah, my father saying that it's too early for classification because someone going to dead anyway. So it's messy now. So once you have the classification, then half of it already dead. So what are you going to do? We're not in because we're a very small family winery. We don't have hotel before. Then we don't have a lot of investment too for tourists, because this classification is a little bit like Saint-Emilion. So it's you need a certain norm for you have a beautiful toilet, you have beautiful rooms.
Ah, right.
So it's a long path.
I think
We're farmers.
have to start somewhere. I mean, in my opinion, like someone got to start this system somehow, sooner or later.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I think to set up a classification system,
Actually, yes.
not 5 or 10 years, it takes hundreds of years. Yeah. And
I believe that for the moment, you know, because each of you is a project. It's not just kind of, okay, let's do wine. It's much more than that. It's like investing, testing, experimenting, and I think that like classification needs to start once there is a kind of common shared culture, which is not ready now. I think it's still on this evolution phase. You know, it's I think it's a little bit too early for that. But this is my personal opinion. But yeah, okay, good. Lionel, can you just like join us for the last greeting? It's very unfortunate that, but since we are going to share the video of the whole event, if you can provide like kind of like personal video of your presentation, I will definitely put together with the one going online, so at least everybody can enjoy your presentation.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Thank
Ah,
No.
no.
No, okay. Doesn't matter. Say hi with the hand. Okay, so
is always we always depending on the
technology. I complete the sentence. Yes.
Okay, exactly. So we have definitely went long, and people, of course, we need to say hi to everybody. I want to thank, first of all, the panelists, because you are a great group of people. Everybody like kind of his own personal vision to follow, and you are doing a great job. I'm sure that you're gonna have a great success, as Clara was saying, that the best is yet to come. And thank you for being with us. Thank you for being clear in explaining your experience and your history. And I hope that also the attendees enjoyed the whole webinar. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.